All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about the benefits Derek received from quitting marijuana, part 4. So, Derek, take it away. What are some of those benefits?
There are so many, and I'm going to really try to keep this general benefits that all of you are going to experience. Everyone is going to have unique benefits too, but really every aspect of your life will improve in some way in the end, right? Maybe at the beginning, movies won't be as funny as they used to be, or just joking around with your friends, watching TV, all that kind of stuff will lose a little bit of its luster. But in the end, it really all does come back because you just stop thinking about it. So just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for any of you that are within your 90 days of quitting. I'm sure it still is hanging over your head, this thing that is missing. But it really just goes away in time, right? So you just got to trust me on that one. But as far as major benefits, I felt like weed was really just always in control of my life, like completely in control of my time. Everything was based around weed. Oh, I'm going on this trip next week. Okay, so am I gonna bring edibles? Am I gonna get a hash pen? How should I sneak the hash pen on the plane? Like everything was around weed. Oh, I have a podcast to record at 3 p.m. So that means I need to smoke as much as I can before 1 p.m. and then drink 2 coffees between 1 and 3, and then accidentally take one more hit at 2 because I left it out and didn't realize what I was doing. And now I'm too high for the podcast. And really, like, I think I can probably relate to a lot of people where I just like smoked all the time. And I think there's not a lot of people that occasionally smoke that are probably listening to this show. A lot of you are probably in over your head and really just prefer to be high at all times. And really, I think as long as weed is part of your life, I was always saying, I do have a doctor's appointment right now. Would he catch me if I was high? Probably not. This would be really funny. So I'm just going to go to this high. I went to everything high. And you just never know what opportunities are going to pass you by because of it. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've run into like old high school friends, just like once at the movies and then another time at a coffee shop. And I was thinking, if I was high, I definitely would have avoided eye contact, tried to act like I didn't see them, and just go on my merry way. And instead, I go have a conversation with them, and it was a great conversation. And it just little things like that. But over the course of your life, I mean, I was basically permanently high for 13 years. And I can think of all the times that I would see people that I'd want to talk to, but I wouldn't because I'd say, not today. Like I'm a little bit too baked right now. Let's keep to myself. That I wouldn't go out and do that. And even with my family, I'd be at dinner and I'd be like kind of tired and I'd be showing up late to the family dinner. I'm like, oh, they better not ask me about everything that's going on in my life. I just don't want to answer that. I'm not feeling like it right now. And I think maybe you guys can relate to that where your family might just bug you when you're high because like you can't tell them that you're high and you can't act high and you got to like try to keep it together. So instead you kind of just like are quiet. And I'm definitely the most extroverted person in my family. And I usually have the most social life going on too. So it was always kind of boring. I felt like really bad, honestly, because I'd sit down at this table of 12 and the adults, they're working their jobs. They don't have a ton of exciting stuff going on. And some of my other cousins, they're a lot more extroverted now, but for a long time, they were very reclusive. And I always had quite the social life, but I just didn't want to talk about it. I'm just like too high. I just like, no one talked to me. Like I always had this vibe about me. And I just felt like I was ruining family dinners because my energy was always just screwed. Like I just wanted out of there. I just wanted to go home and get high. And I think there's a lot of times too where you'll be out with friends that have no problem with you smoking weed, but you call it an early night because you always have it hanging over your head that you could be doing this or you could go home and smoke weed and watch whatever movie. So there's a lot of just life that passes you by just so that you can go have a mini panic attack back at your house. And yeah, it's hard to say that weed doesn't cause anxiety. It might be temporary relief, but then it gives you that anxiety. And sometimes you do too many edibles or sometimes you get a sativa that's a little bit too strong or take a little bit too big of a dab. and now you're freaking out. And for some reason you get sober and you're like, yeah, let's do that again. So I consider it a highly addictive substance. And I was just absolutely sick of it controlling my life anymore. And from the outside looking back, then it's just so great to be done with it. Although it was certainly really difficult to kick with in those first couple months.
Mm-hmm. And I know you tried a few times to get clean too. So you had made a few months here and there, and then you would slip back. And what stuck with you this time? Like, what was that thing that switched?
I don't know what the best way to quit is. Completely cold turkey, and no matter how difficult it is, just never do it again and just bear with it. But a lot of these situations were a reminder of why I quit. And you almost forget why. You make it 60 days and you're like, why did I say I was quitting again? I mean, it's raining today and I don't have any work to do. And I'm just sitting here watching TV. Like, why can't I just smoke today? And then you might do it. And then all of a sudden you smoke the rest of the day. And then just something happens, right? That reminds you of, oh yeah, that's why I don't want to do this. And it's really not beneficial for me to do so. And they were kind of reminders. And I think I had enough relapses that were hard reminders, like we talked about in part 3, that was just a blatant sign from the universe that that is not a path that I want to walk anymore. So I think I've also referred to this to Joel in the past as, if you get in a breakup, it's been like a few months since you've seen them, you kind of forget why you guys broke up. So you go hang out again, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's why. So sometimes I won't say it's necessary to do this, because really in the end, it doesn't seem like it was necessary, but sometimes it's just that reminder that you needed, that you just have to stray off course real quick just to get corrected again. I'm curious what you have to say. What are your thoughts on going cold turkey and just never looking back and going through the pain versus, I don't want to say like, yeah, you should relapse while you're quitting, but when people do, end up doing so sometimes, is it ever beneficial to do so?
Yeah, so each person is going to be a little different, I think. And I always say, like, if you can go cold turkey and it works for you, go for it. For myself, I was like you. I had to try a few times and almost practice being sober before I was really ready to let it go. Because a lot of times, if you quit just cold turkey from doing it all the time, it can be like traumatizing to like the system, to where it can actually be kind of dangerous. So I say, like, and what I find too is that most people end up kind of going slow and steady anyway. Like by the time they come to me, they've already tried a few times. It's not like this is like the first rodeo. So at this point, they're kind of just sick and tired, and they're just like, okay, I've done this enough. I just want someone to just kind of, walk me through this, and so I can be accountable to. And so I show up to this person every week, and I'm more likely to stay sober because I don't want to disappoint this person or waste the money I spent. So I know for me though, it was funny when you were sharing your story, because whenever I would be like, okay, I'd be a few days sober, I'd be like, all right, well, if it wasn't for smoking weed, I wouldn't be sober. So I think I should smoke weed again. I'm just like, wait a sec. How does that make sense? And like, even today, like with like, I don't know, maybe like an addiction I'm dealing with, TV, or if I eat sugar, I'm like, I'll be like on 8 days of no sugar or no TV. And I'll be like, okay, you know what? I kind of forgot why I got sober, and or I quit watching TV or eating sugar, but I remember last time I ate sugar, I was motivated to stop eating sugar. So maybe if I eat sugar again, I'll be actually motivated. So it comes to a point where it becomes just a cycle, and you really have to get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to step off or keep ending up doing this repetitive loop. And at some point too, what my mindset was, okay, I'm going to have to go cold turkey eventually. Like, if I want to actually find sobriety, like one day I'm going to have to say goodbye forever if this is a path I want to take. So I think it's best to, talk about it with people and find out what best works for you, for the person watching. I found myself that I had to do the slow and steady, practice being sober for a while. And then once I was able to quit and go cold turkey, it wasn't as painful as if I had gone from completely smoking all the time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you said it's too much of a shock to the system to just stop. Because, yeah, that first time that I did 50 days, I did not enjoy it at all, day 30 to 50. At the first week or two, you experience all the benefits. And then
Yeah.
I think what's really difficult about getting rid of any addiction is you are going to confront your life exactly as it is with no rose colored glasses. And
Oh,
you've been living life with these rose colored glasses. So, the fact that you're probably getting rid of the addiction, or you've gotten to that point where you say, all right, enough is enough on that, it also means that there's things that are at a similar point in your life where you're saying, all right, I'm done having this career that I don't like, or whatever it may be. There's some other thing in your life that needs a massive change, and you getting rid of the addiction is going to be the spark to that. But now you're going to have to confront that head on without any rose colored glasses, and you're just not going to be used to it. It's depressing, honestly. So yeah, I think I did need those little, going back and forth was necessary for me to eventually get to the mindset of I just don't want it anymore. And I
yeah.
think that really is the key to the mindset of never relapsing again, is as long as you think you're giving something up, then you're going to be doing the willpower method to quit. You're like, all right, don't smoke. Man, that would be so nice right now, but don't do it. I'm on day 37.2. So let's not smoke. And you're like really attuned with exactly what day you're on. I remember I was counting the halves, even like I'm like 50 and a half, sweet. Like I was just so like, what day am I on? And it just felt like I was giving something up.
Okay.
And once you're in the mentality of like, okay, so what am I actually giving up? And I wrote it all down. I was like, here's my life if I continue smoking weed at the frequency that I am. And then here is what inevitably will happen if I do stop. And really, it was really crazy because you realize that there is absolutely no pros except
Mhm.
for you get to be a recreational marijuana smoker is the only pro that existed there.
Mm,
Even with fitness, that's something that I've done for a very long time, but very rarely are you going to smoke weed and be more motivated to go to the gym than if you didn't smoke.
mm,
And if you're a runner, very rarely are you going to have the cardio capacity. I would say never are you going to have the cardio capacity as someone who doesn't smoke, as someone, or the other way around, as someone who does smoke versus who doesn't. And I signed up for a few months of jujitsu earlier this year, and you get so gassed. Like when you do something like that, you really get in touch with your lungs, and you're like,
mm.
I think like there's few things that scare me more than not being able to breathe, even if you did it from running and you like did it to yourself, right? Like it's a scary feeling not being able to breathe cleanly.
Mhm.
And I ran into enough of those, like just like I was the white belt, right? I'm just like
Mhm.
rolling with all these people who are much more experienced than me, getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And some of the times I would just stop the fight because I couldn't even breathe because I was just so gassed. And
Uh,
I was mostly sober from weed during that time, but I was newly sober, and I could tell that there was just some damage to my lungs that I needed to heal. I think maybe cigarettes are a little bit more damaging, and that for that reason, a lot of people don't associate weed with that lung damage.
yeah.
But if you try to do a long run or something actually really difficult, like you will run into a cap in your lung capacity.
Pun intended. Yeah, and that was one of the huge benefits for me, and knowing you as well, like getting to exercise and enjoy working out. Like I love going for runs, I love going to the gym, and it's very therapeutic, and it's very, you can do a workout and feel just accomplished for the whole day just by doing a workout in the morning. So I think that's one of the best benefits, is getting to be healthy again and knowing that you're letting yourself live an extra 20 years. So yeah, coming back to, I think everyone is going to have their moment where they realize that it isn't working for them anymore. I know both you and I had it. And I think it's a good lesson, especially what you shared from number 3, is that the universe, when you get on this path, will help you not smoke weed by giving you consequences when you smoke weed. And the sooner you can listen to those consequences and get in your head, and I know we're stubborn people, so it can be hard, that, okay, this really is not going to be compatible for the life I want to live. I know for myself, I got robbed a bunch of money. I got in trouble with the police. Your cat's tail got cut off. You got stranded on in the middle of the countryside in your Tesla. Like a friend, he like freaking passed out because he took too big of a bong rip and like got messed up by some waves when he was swimming. Just a ton of negative things just start happening in sequential order. And it's almost like, pun intended, like we're cats and we get 9 lives. And the more we keep using those lives, the less we're going to have until something serious happens. My buddy Ricky, who you've seen on the channel as well, his story was that he had like a moped and he was gonna get gas. He was gonna fix it at some shopping because he lived in Mexico, and it was gonna cost like, I don't know, $100 or something. And he's like, it was gonna take like 15 minutes. And he's like, dude, I really need to get high right now. So he left, and as soon as he left, he like slipped on a rock on the moped, and the moped wiped out and got like totaled. And then he had to pay like 10 times that to get it fixed, all because he wanted to get high. So that was like a big lesson for him. Like, dude, I could have just saved X amount of money because if I didn't want to get high, but I chose to get high. So it's, listen to those consequences. And that's another great benefit is you stop getting in trouble. Like you stop getting that gut feeling where you're just like, oh shit, I did something wrong that I can't undo.
I definitely always had weed in my car too, because while I was a traveling salesman, if an appointment would reschedule and the next appointment couldn't see me earlier, sometimes I'd just be hanging out for like 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out what to do. So all the time, I was almost rooting for them to reschedule because like, sweet, I'm going to get high and go do this thing, right? I'm going to go to a coffee shop. But it really was so sketchy, the amount of time I played with the law, because I never got pulled over with weed in my car. I never got a DUI or anything. I got like a couple MIPs and stuff when I was younger, but it was never while I was driving. So I was very fortunate. And now I'm just like, this is really great because no one makes it their entire life having weed in their car without ever getting pulled over. And I kept thinking out, like when I was really financially strapped at times, I was like, can you imagine if you got now pulled over for being high? I mean, whenever I'd be under the influence driving, just on weed, which I know it's bad, but I think a lot of you weed smokers out there, know, like if you're going to be high your whole life, like you're probably going to hit the road sometimes with a little bit in you. And it's really not the worst substance you could be on driving, but it certainly makes you go in the right lane and go the exact speed limit. So, maybe that's why you don't really get pulled over as much because you're just driving as safe as possible. But I'd just be terrified. I'd be like, oh my God, cop. Like now it's like nice to be able to look at a cop car and not be like, oh my God, like, like look at him, like chill out. So there's just like a lot of less things in life that just stress you out. But yeah, if I would have gotten pulled over while being financially strapped and then getting a massive ticket for that, like could have really, really screwed up my life. So, I mean, there's a lot of consequences that might be sitting there, and it's easy to say like weed's not that expensive. I think I probably spent between $1,200 and $1,500 a year on it, which isn't the least amount of money, but really the expenses is more like the time that you lose and these potential huge pitfalls that could happen just from negligence. One time I had like I got an oil change and these guys fucked it up because like a day after it said like low oil and I kept driving. I was like, huh, that's weird. I got it changed yesterday and I guess they didn't like put it on enough. And then all of a sudden I remember just having a more like high mentality about it. Like you're just very passive with a lot of things in life. I was like, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. I just kept driving it for a few hours. And then all of a sudden I'm out of oil and that destroys your engine. So, and I was so passive that like my dad's like, yeah, call that auto company and sue their asses. I didn't want to deal with it. I think I was like 22 or something. I was like, no, mistakes happen. And now I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, definitely sue those people for like doing the oil change wrong. Like I was just so passive with a lot of things because I think that's a really bad thing that a lot of people don't notice themselves on weed. Like when it comes to dealing with a problem or ignoring a problem, you're going to be so much more likely to just brush a problem under the rug because you don't want to deal with it. And it might seem like the easiest path to just deal with that problem is just forgive or just let it go by. But yeah, you can get really screwed, especially by people who notice this behavior out of you and then continues to take advantage of it. Yeah, so really this all started last year where I realized I hit that wall again and I started getting off weed and I made it, I think, somewhere between 30 to 60 days. And I was really craving to get back on it, but I didn't want that to happen. And I ran into one of Joel's videos and he offered a $20 call. So I said, let's at least do this so that I can get another perspective, because I was definitely close to a relapse because I couldn't remember why I started again. And I was talking to a lot of my friends. I literally called like every friend I have, and all of them smoke weed. And I was trying to get their advice on why I shouldn't smoke weed, right? And they're all like, yeah, I mean, it works for me. And some of them even told me, yeah, man, I took 10 months off, but then I got back on it and I realized that I do really like it. Like most of their stories were just like really what I did not need to hear. And my life path is so much different than a lot of theirs. I think it's a lot easier to work your 9 to 5 and you go in and you're not high and you get home and then you get high and then that's your life, right? It's a lot easier to just like drift through what life that way. But I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always looking to start another business. I'm always working harder on my businesses. And I just want the most out of life. I want to live an exceptional life in every possible way, including my own health and physique and all of my accomplishments and the amount that I take care of my family and the amount that I contribute to the world. I really want to leave as much of a legacy behind as possible. And I don't settle for uh, anything less than what I really want in relationships. So I just needed to become the best version of me possible. And not everyone in the world is playing that game. So just because it works for other people doesn't mean it's acceptable, is what I had to really realize. This really is about your own relationship with weed. But no matter how many of my friends told me, yeah, I smoke it sometimes and I just buy like lighter weed or I just take one hit, I knew that that wasn't my relationship with weed. I knew I was like an all day or nothing stoner. And the fact that they can smoke once or twice a week does not make sense to me. Great. It does not pertain to me. So I said, I need to stop calling all my friends who have completely different relationships with weed than me, because you already know the answer. And I need to talk to someone who's on a similar life path. So Joel obviously has the YouTube channel, as I do too. We're both really ambitious in every way, shape, or form. And he's someone who had conquered his weed addiction in a very similar fashion to like the way that I was needing to. We had a more similar life path than any of my friends that I was talking to. And that's why I realized like this is someone that I need to talk to, because it really it does feel lonely when no one can share the exact journey you're on. But as long as you can find someone who's like really close to it, that can relate to what you're doing. So I did a call with Joel and we got to talking about so many other things apart from weed that I knew like this is someone that I need to invest with further. So I have done one of his professional coaching programs. But for any of you that are just looking for a little bit of help or just to figure out that there's someone out there that can relate to your exact situation, just do that $20 call with Joel. And that's probably one of the best things that you can do to kick off this year.
Man, I appreciate it, Derek. And yeah, when you came in, I knew you had that fire and like that look in your eyes. Like you were ready to quit. I could hear it in your voice. And that's why I knew you were going to be someone great to work with. And, you know, eventually, and this was the great part, by the end of our coaching sessions, we were talking about business. And I think our last session, we didn't even talk about weed once, because it was just like you had conquered it and really gotten it out of your life. So, you know, I appreciate that. And I really appreciate you reaching out as well for that initial call. And I know we had talked behind the scenes a bit that, you know, you didn't really have the intention of going any further than that. And I think the big important part is about being willing to ask for help and making that initial investment. I know I do that for myself. Whenever I start something new, I get somebody to give me some advice and help me, and that's willing to. And it just makes the process so much easier because I saw a lot of things in Derek that I had done that were just simple little mindset shifts. And what was really not cool about Derek is we started to look at some of those underlying issues that were maybe contributing to the desire to smoke weed. So like the relationship stuff, the business stuff. And usually when I've known people and myself, when I was smoking a lot of weed, the reason I did it was because the areas that I really wanted to be going well in my life weren't going well. So it was like, of course, I'm just going to go to what's comfortable, and that was weed. So once we were able to address, I think, some of those other things you were dealing with, like with dating and stuff, you started to see some of those breakthroughs. And yeah, it's just been awesome to see your journey, man. And it's just cool to have you as a friend now. And looking forward to seeing your progress throughout this 2024.
Yeah, man, we've developed a great friendship and have so many different types of content that we can collaborate on. So yeah, I signed up for, like, I'm just going to do the $20 call and that's it. And then so much more came out of it. So maybe you just do the $20 call and that's exactly what you needed. But I would say to all of you that are really serious about it, getting it out of your life, it would be a free call if you wouldn't just be bombarded with them. But just keeping at that level, it's just like a basic level commitment just to make sure it's something that you're really serious about. And I think you'll get so much value from talking to him for 45 minutes to an hour that it really could be great for you.
Thank you, brother. Yes, and my goal with anybody who gets on that call, I want to get you in and out of these doors as fast as possible. I don't want to be working with you for 2-3 years because that means if you've ever been to therapy, you'll have that where someone will go to therapy for 10 years and then that 10 years is up and they're like, well, my life ain't much better. What the heck just happened? So I want to get you the tools to be able to start living your life as soon as possible. And really, it's about that 30 to 60 day mark that really, I think, takes to break that habit and start the new habits and then see the benefits. So if you can really make it to that first 30-day mark, second 60-day mark, and then what Derek's really working on is getting to that 90-day mark. And I think in your heart of hearts that as soon as you hit that, it's like, okay, this is really my past now. This is no longer my story. Well, it's my story, but it's not who I am. So again, yes, thank you so much, Derek, for sharing your experience with the coaching. And I am very looking forward to helping anybody who's watching this conquer their weed addiction in 2024. So yeah, just like Derek said, for $20, hit the description below and schedule a call. We'll hop on a Zoom for about 40 minutes and I can find out what you're going through, where you are in your journey, and what the biggest struggle is for you right now, and that's holding you back from quitting. And then we can begin addressing that right away and get you some relief as fast as possible. So once again, Derek, thanks for coming on, man. Audience, stay tuned. Obviously, you're going to see a lot more Derek. We're going to have a lot more collabs and podcasts and stuff. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.
Thanks, guys.